Hey there, Bracy here. So today I spent the bulk of the morning working on a business plan, structuring structuring the structure of this new business opportunity that I could be starting up with Glimpse Group, which will be pretty awesome. And it's been interesting to go through all these questions and reframe what a business plan would be in a way that can scale, because it's one thing to be a business that you're setting up to make money, to make a living, and it's a completely different thing to look at how the structure of your business and the way that you make money, the way you charge for what it is that you're trying to produce and the way you produce it can scale. And if you don't know, scale means that you can continue to grow. And not just grow a little bit, but grow in mass ways. So thinking about scale when it comes to restaurants, you think about franchises. Instead of being one small business, you set up the general structure of how your business would work, and then you license the franchise to other people who would be able to then take that company, that same business structure, and apply it in whatever region of the world they're in. What we'll be doing it's similar, but we wouldn't franchise it out. It would all be controlled by a central unit, and then we would pop up in more and more cities if this works out. But I'm pretty excited about it. I think it's got a lot of potential, a lot of room for growth, a lot of potential clients, though they would have to be on the higher end. And that's the thing that I found interesting initially when starting this venture. When thinking about this, I was really looking at it through the eyes of short-term engagements. We'd be looking for small groups who'd be really interested in using a service, but to really make it financially viable, we really need to create kind of a subscription service for companies and offer them just the most we can possibly offer them for what we're doing, give them this really valuable access to content that we can create, and also all the hardware that we can bring there. So I don't know, it's so funny because starting out in business, actually, in starting companies, I started my first company back in 2004 with some other college mates of mine, and the business was the thing that I disliked the most. And I think most people would say that that's the case. That enter business from a creative lens. Most people are just interested. The creative side, a lot of people who are creatives are interested in the creativity side of things. And for me, that's been most of my life. I've not really been interested in the business end. And slowly but surely, I've had to learn so much. So now I can walk into a meeting and I can hold my own, at least as far as understanding the grand scope of what is necessary to run a business. When talking about scale, what is necessary, scaling, building a company that can scale, a product that can scale, looking at certain elements. But the issue is I've never been financially motivated, and I've also never been good with the financial side of it, because I've never really taken the time to study that aspect. But the thing is that we can always study this stuff. It's always there. We just have to find our path in. We've got to find something that makes us excited about coming back, something fun, and that's ultimately that is. I think the way into anything is find a fun way to start. I think I've said this before, but that's the key to all this stuff that I've learned is finding just some way to just do it. And Nike got it right. Just do it is really the modus operandi for anyone who wants to get in and get involved. Speaking of which, I mentioned a few weeks ago that I was going to be starting to learn Italian, and I was going to incorporate this blog into that. But I shortly after I made that announcement, I think the next day or the 2 days later, I mentioned that I had found my Italian learning thing, and I have been following through with that. But it's a podcast, and it's not something that is easy for me to share on this. Though I'm going to start writing down a lot more instead of just listening. I think it's time to kind of transfer in the skill and like kind of embed it. Some things I just listen to, some information I can just sit there and listen to, and it seeps its way in, and over time it just really like it grabs in and it takes over and it becomes part of me. But I'm finding more and more language for me, it cannot be something that I passively learn. I passively learn a lot of things where it is like, where I'm like listening to podcasts, but I can also do other things. I can passively learn a lot of abstract concepts, a lot of information, history, stuff like that. But when it comes to language, my brain just cannot, I can't repeat the way that I would like to. So I'm learning that about myself. It's always cool to learn how this structure works, this body works, the brain, how it works, because as soon as you find a little thing, then you start treating it the way you should, or the way that it needs attention, and all of a sudden you get amazing results. And it's really cool. It's really fun. So that's it for today's update. I heard some really cool closer that I was like, I really want to use that. But for now, I think I'm just gonna go the old Italian way. Arrivederci.